Officially Pride Month. It is underway. What does Pride Month mean to you? And what are you doing this Pride Month?
It's funny how Pride Month has evolved over the time that I've come out. I came out when I was 25 and living in Birmingham, Alabama, and it meant so much to me then. It still means a lot to me now, but it's that at that point it was my first. I still remember my first Pride parade. I'd gone to LA, and when I saw this huge outpouring. It's this kid who grew up on a farm and then was living in this conservative Birmingham, Alabama, to see this outpouring of support and people just being out. And I remember crying on the side of the street in Los Angeles. And then over the years, we've become comfortable with saying, here we are, we're here, and more accepted. And today it's as important because it's a way for all of us to sort of take stock of what we've done, to sort of remember the people who didn't make it to here, and I feel it's just as strong, but with a different focus, a different intensity. I can sense.
I think for me, Pride Month evolves depending on actually sometimes who I'm with, what I'm doing, the time of day, and probably the stage of life that I'm in. For me, on a personal level, with my wife and I, it's a time to celebrate and amplify who we are as a couple, our right to exist as people, and to love just like everyone else loves. I think, but it's the most intrinsic root of it. To me, Pride is exceptionally a political statement to remind people that the fight is far from over. There are so many people who cannot have the privilege to be able to attend a Pride, and if we can take one step to help them in their struggles wherever they are, that's what's so important. We need to stand up as, the world, everyone thinks the world is so great for us now. There's still so many challenges for people in our community. And if we can stand up and amplify and change one opinion out there, that to me is a purpose of Pride.
Yeah.
Working over the years in your industry, what have your experiences been like? How have you navigated, your industry as an out person? And how do you think maybe that could differ from somebody else who's not LGBTQ working in the industry?
It's a beauty of being in residential real estate in New York. I was lucky enough to grow up in New York City. I come from a family that's been in residential real estate. So for me, I've seen gay and lesbian and transgender people in my sphere since I was a kid. And it was completely the norm, and that's not what most people see around the world. So I've been very comfortable to be myself since I started when I was 22 years old. I'm not saying that everything is perfect. People have said things of extraordinary prejudice to me, and things have been incredibly hurtful. But on the whole, as a community, we represent all the different types of home owners and tenants and people who live in New York City. So the agents represent that. So it creates, I believe, a very diverse and wonderful community, and it's a place where you can feel safe to be yourself. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty great place to be out.
I absolutely agree. Like there's not many moments I've had in my career in New York City real estate where I've even been conscious of the fact that it's an issue, which is such a privilege, right? That's such a luxury to have for a lot of people in this country and around the world, that I don't have to think about it. And I now, I'm wearing a ring, and my husband and I are present in conversations, meaning I can talk to people I work for, the people I work with, the people I support, my clients, and without any sense of feeling I might need to hold that back, or feeling like there's an issue. I've never come across anything. Never is a strong word, but seldom do I come across a point when that's an issue, and that hasn't always been the case. Like I said, I have had times in my earlier career where, you had to be very guarded about what you would say, and just sort of take some of the slings and arrows that would come your way, and sort of grin and bear it and move forward. But I agree. We have a very strong sense of community here, and I feel like all facets of it are accepted.
So you've seen some gains in your career over time in the industry. What are some challenges that still exist for queer people and just for the industry at large that you think could be addressed, and how do you think we can do that?
Yeah. I don't know. One of the things that strikes me is that when we talk about this industry, there's two sides of the industry, right? There's the industry of the people who work in the industry, and there's the industry of the people we serve. So yes, in this city, working as a real estate professional, I think he and I are both fortunate to be accepted for who we are. Like, people know who we are. We walk in the room and we bring all of us in the room. For our clients, I think there's still a lot of challenges, and I think there's a lot of challenges, for instance, with people, with transgender people with who aren't as accepted as we are. And if you look at our clients, there's still a lot of discrimination around the country. I mean, New York is very lucky to have laws that protect for gender identity and sexual orientation, but only 28 of the states in the country have those protections, and there's certainly no federal protection there. So there's a long way to go as far as that goes in terms of protecting our clients.
Yeah, I concur with you. I mean, I think it's so important that we do live in an incredible city of 8.5 million people in the tri-state area, an incredible sense of diverse areas of thought, but housing is a human right, and we have to make sure that no matter who you are, that you are entitled to housing. And I think that what's imperative for us to do is to, when we work with people, whether it be clients or agents or anyone in the industry, say, something that seems as simple as a word to you can be deeply offensive and hurtful. And when you make assumptions about people, you need to treat people with the respect that they're due and they're owed. And I think it's just very important to remember that every one of us, no matter gay, straight, trans, bisexual, pansexual, we're all different and we all have different needs, but we all deserve the same level of respect. And not everyone, everyone has to be treated with ways in which their identity and their dignity is protected. And I think that it's important that we, there are challenges, and maybe we have clients who aren't as, open-minded to things, but we have to remember it's more important to stand up for the community than just to get a commission check. So I think that we are lucky to be in New York, and so we can't take that privilege too much. Remember that you mentioned how, whether it be Alabama or right now Florida, like we can still do things to make that industry impacted so that people have better access to feel. You want to feel safe in your home, and if you don't feel safe in your home, we're not getting our jobs done.
Yeah, or to have a home.
Yeah.
I mean, I do some work with Charity Place Shelter on the Upper West Side, and they do, like 97% of their clients are young people between 17 and 21 who are homeless, mostly because of issues with family. And that's the, again, I call that the flip side of our industry. Like, we have to take care of the homeless issue just like we have to take care of placing people in homes. And I think we have to acknowledge that and work toward it. I think we all are. Some of us, there are people that are working toward this clearly, but continue to work toward people, LGBTQ youth, people who are trans youth, having trouble with finding homes for them and making sure that they're taken care of, and moving them along through having a home again.
To that point, there was a report recently that showed that LGBTQ people have lower homeownership rates than non-LGBTQ people, and those rates are even lower for Black LGBTQ people. So there seemed to be a need for an effort to make it easier for people to purchase a home.
100%. I mean, I think that we as an industry, we as a country, and not only our industry but as a country, we need to start very when children are young. You need to be taught. How do we create a path to home ownership? How do we create programs that make it easier? In the 1950s, you saw New York City build Mitchell Llama housing, right? The Lady Garment Workers ones in Chelsea are very famous. They were built by the union, for the union, and for people. They were incredible houses, and they promoted people to be able to buy and make home ownership easier. You saw incredible efforts after World War II. I mean, there are all these different things that happen. And that's something that we can't forget. There are ways that we all need to work together, and that's why I was talking earlier about, I'm very, I'm probably outside of people who are lobbyists, I'm kind of obsessed with New York State politics. I find it very, very interesting, and I think it's really important to understand what's going on locally. And we can affect change and work to help things like this and help people who don't have as great of an advantage buying if we, work together and try to do partnerships and work with the private sector, the public sector, and just learn to help educate people in order so that they can go home and be with their family no matter what that means.
Yeah. I absolutely agree.
And discrimination, of course, is an ongoing issue. In 2020, there was a Supreme Court ruling, that ruled in favor of non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ people. And last year, the Biden administration said it would interpret the Fair Housing Act to protect people on the basis of sexual orientation and identity. There's still a need to pass the Equality Act to build on that Supreme Court Could you either speak about the need for that and the impact of even the Supreme Court ruling that we had to help move the ball forward in terms of combating non-discrimination?
Yeah, that's just of course it's a basic human right to be to have our to have transgender and to LGBTQ individuals protected at the federal level is massively important. I mean, it's you have almost 50% of the states in this in our country where people can be discriminated against for housing and for loans and for finances with no recourse because it's not illegal to discriminate against two men who want to live together or have a home together, buy a home together. There's absolutely it's legal for that to be done. So at this point, it's one of the most important undertakings that can happen.
And speaking for both of your careers, are there particular mentors that you've had over the years, or people that you've looked up to, that you've learned from in your career?
Well, I've had so many. I mean, I think that, it seems tried to say it. My mother sat in this room in 1982 to help form the residential board of directors for the real estate board. And so for me, I got to grow up in this incredible household, watching a woman start her own company, grow it when I was an infant, make everything come to fruition. And I remember I was very young, and I saw two of her friends, two men, kissing each other. And I said, "Mommy, I don't understand what's going on." I was very young. And she said, "It's okay. Everyone loves differently, and that's the beauty of life." And when I came out, she said, "Oh, I know. But it was your journey to figure it out. The only thing that matters is your happiness." And for me, it's just been an incredible thing to know that I've had that in my life, but also to try to emulate that, to care the most about how do we create a path for happiness, whether it be financial, personal, professional. And then I've had a myriad of people. I mean, from people like Ken Sheff, who's a real estate a manager in New York, who's never made me feel anything less than the best version of myself. I think that mentors can be found in a lot of different ways, and sometimes they can be people you work with, and sometimes they can be people who work for you. But as long as you have your eyes open and you ask for help and you ask for insights and inspirations, and you're always trying to glean information, I think that you can learn to grow in so many different ways. And I said this to my wife recently. We were walking, we were in Fire Island in the Pines, and we were walking down the street, and I saw these people sort of skipping around and not thinking it was during COVID and they didn't have a mask on. And I said, we have to remember every day that we are here on the backs of people who gave up their lives for us, who were killed for our rights, who died of HIV/AIDS, who fought for our liberation, and that we are so lucky and we have to continue that fight. And my biggest mentors are the people who stood up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s as an LGBTQ plus person to give me the ability to be able to hold my wife's hand in public. Yes, sometimes people say some pretty awful things to me on the street of New York, but at least I can do it now. And for that, we should all be so grateful. And they're really the true heroes and mentors for me.
Yeah, I agree. And in the industry, I think mentorship is so important. I think it's on both sides of mentorship. I'm all about the both sides of the coin today, aren't I? So that's what it's about. But I think mentorship is so important. There's people, gay and straight, who have been my advisors and mentors for the past several years since I've been in this industry. Robert Dornberg comes to mind. He's the person that got me into this business and kept saying, "You need to be in real estate. This is what you need to be doing." And I did come into this business, and he was right. I did need to be in this business. But what I've seen over the years is that he's given that kind of advice and that kind of counsel, and given sage advice to agents and managers and company leaders along the way. And you just those kinds of people are niches. They're the ones that help make this a better place to work. And on the other side, I try to be conscious of that and to be a good mentor to people as well. Just to be open when I can with the advice that I have to give, to be open to those people and making myself available to give advice as well. But I absolutely agree. If I look back through my years of since I was 25 and coming out. There have been people all along the way that have sort of been the guideposts that have helped me, and so grateful for those.
Right. Speaking of advice, two related questions. What kind of advice would you have for people who are working in the industry, as well, LGBTQ people who work in the industry, as well as advice that you have for people who are looking to buy a home, or navigating their living environment and are queer people and might have concerns about that effort? Yeah.
I think for me, my advice for people who are coming into this business is, number one, just be who you are. Like, I think in business, and especially in this business, when it's a relationship business, people need to know who you are. So don't try to hide the fact that you're gay, or that your former career was in banking, or that you're whatever this is. Just be who you are. That's who people want to see, and that's who they're going to trust. And in terms of people who are buying a home, is that?
Yeah.
And in terms of people who are looking to buy or sell, or if you run into issues that feel wrong to you, if it makes you feel disrespected, if it makes you feel like something's just not right here, again, find a place that you can. There are advocates throughout this industry. There's advocates in the city, and there are advocates in the state that can help you. So you don't have to feel like you have to, because you are LGBTQ, that you have to take any kind of discrimination. You should stand up for your rights, and don't think that I'm going to lose this apartment. I'm going to may not be able to get through here. It's going to hurt somebody's feelings. No, you should stand up for your rights, and especially because we're lucky enough to live in a state and a city where we are protected and we do have resources to turn to. So make sure that you take advantage of those.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Be your truest self. Be your authentic self. Obviously, in the safest possible way. But stand up and be counted every day. That's what I say. I'd rather live my truth as who I am than wake up and look back one day and say I regret not being able to be myself. And there are a lot of people in this industry who want to help you. I mean, I whether it be sending a LinkedIn message or an Instagram message or looking for an affinity group, we have REBNY. I mean, we have all these great resources. So the worst that can happen is you're told no. But if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And then in terms of people buying or renting, whatever the housing situation might be, I have to concur. If something seems wrong, there are so many resources in the state, and there's so many in the city, and you have to say something. And if you can say, and you feel safe too, there are a lot of anonymous ways to do it if you feel something's wrong. But again, housing is a human right. Feeling safe, in my opinion, is a human right, and you need to be treated. You need to be treated the way you deserve to be treated. And the good thing is too, there are a lot of people who work in this industry who are focused on helping this community find housing. So, even if you want to you're not working with them, you want to ask them a question, reach out. The most important thing is you need to stand up for each other, because times other people can't stand up for ourselves. So we as an industry need to be able to provide the information, but if people don't know what's happening, we can't fix it. We got to fix it.
Yeah. I also think that if you're working in the industry, it's good to put together a trusted group that you can turn to, not just for these issues, but for any issues. I find that so important. We were talking about mentors, but it's also important to have a collegial group, a group of like trusted, your inner core, right? Your round table that you can turn to when you have issues that seem questions like, this seems wrong to me, or this seems right to me, or why haven't we done this, or why can't we do this, or who should I turn to for this? Get yourself a trusted group of core people, like I said, your round table, so that you can turn to and let those people and you support each other, because I think it's really important in an industry. It's again an industry that's built on relationships. Those relationships are what are going to carry you forward and keep you moving.
Well, 3:54.